Our JD Miles joining us with the story tonight and the photos of the makeshift home. JD?
Doug, this teenager wasn't just hiding inside the store. He built a secret hidden compound right in the middle of it and called this 24-hour store home for 4 days before being discovered. It was here, down the aisle with baby strollers, where a 14-year-old boy set up a campsite inside this Corsicana Walmart.
Because you would never expect that you're at Walmart, there's someone living there and has been living there for 4 days. That's crazy.
Customers who walked down the aisles where the teen was living never noticed two hidden compounds where the boy was able to store necessities, sleep in a makeshift bed, and eat items taken from inside the store. He created a crack in the back wall of the drink aisle to grab juice and even collected a fish from the pet department. These photos show the clothing that employees say the boy would change in and out of every few hours to avoid detection. Sources say the 14-year-old was so concerned about being caught, he wore diapers instead of using the store restroom. Eventually, a trash trail led to the teen's discovery. Police were called and released the boy to the custody of relatives.
I'm wondering what his parents think and how come he didn't come home, or why aren't they worried about him?
And that's a good question. We're told the boy lives with relatives, but was visiting other relatives when he disappeared. CPS, meanwhile, says they are usually called in to investigate cases like this, but were not called this time. Now, there's no indication right now that Walmart plans to file any criminal charges against the boy at this point. Why he did this is a question we hope to get an answer to soon to further explain this incredible story. Live in Corsicana, JD Miles, CBS 11 News. Doug, McKinney and Denison are squaring off tonight on the football field, but there's just as much interest and excitement here about another competition. It's whether an admitted long shot would take home an unlikely crown. The boots,
I feel awesome.
tuxedo,
Are you nervous?
and bow tie are typically worn by homecoming kings, not a hopeful homecoming queen.
It would have been funny to see me out there in a dress.
April Swartz Lawson is the first openly lesbian student seeking a title she once shunned.
I generally don't think they reflect accurately on, students, who they are as people.
The 17-year-old McKinney High School senior was nominated by her friend Emily.
I just think she was perfect for this because she's the kindest person I know.
Friends and family of April have accepted her since coming out in the 8th grade. But there was a time when others didn't.
They were weirded out by it, and some of them, there was probably hate behind it. I'm not the typical choice for a homecoming queen at all. I'm gay, first of all, and I'm gay living in McKinney.
First I was nervous, I was afraid someone was playing a joke on her, but then when I found out it was serious, I was just so happy for her.
At tonight's game, April, accompanied by her dad, walked to the center of the field, waiting for the announcement.
Queen April Swartz.
The response from the crowd meant more than the crown for a homecoming queen unlike any this Collin County town has ever seen. And I've got the bouquet here for the 2014 homecoming queen from McKinney High School. April, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You know, we've seen across North Texas this year a lot of inspiring choices for homecoming kings and queens, and this is certainly one of them. Live in McKinney tonight, JD Miles, CBS 11 News. Karen and Doug, I thought we were going to have to keep it down because it's bedtime, but we've got some night owls here. Let me introduce you to them. This is little Rayleigh. This is Gracie, this is Brant, this is Tessa, and this is Mia. The Seals quintuplets are resting comfortably on their first night out together from Baylor Hospital. With IV tubes full of baby formula attached to their tummies, dinner time is a little different for the Seals quintuplets.
She seems to be doing pretty good, as long as she don't spit on me.
4 of the 5 babies still use a feeding tube, but all were finally healthy enough to leave after 4 months in Baylor Hospital. Even though a few weren't too happy about it.
It's just been great getting to know this family and taking care of these sweet babies.
After saying goodbye to the nurses who adored them, the Fab Five, as they become known, are the first quintuplets in the hospital's 110-year history.
We probably will never take care of quintuplets ever again.
The parents had to borrow a church van from their hometown of Maud in northeast Texas to transport their family of now 8 to a friend's home in Carrollton.
It was a little bit of an adjustment.
Paula Foster took in the seals despite being in the middle of treatment for breast cancer. But she says the babies have helped her through a difficult time.
I want to keep one of them, but she says I can't, so I'm sure there'll be some tears shed tomorrow.
Yes, the other night I started crying on Paula. It's hard to leave her and Dave because they've been so good to us, and this was the kids' first home to come to.
Look.
Now you might think the seals have a plan or a schedule or routine for feedings and diaper changes with all these babies. They don't. Michelle and Stephen tell me they will be on their own when they head out tomorrow with these 5 little precious bundles of joy and their 2-year-old here, Brady. Live in Carrollton, JD Miles, CBS 11 News. Adrian, this looks like a normal fire hydrant until you see what's on top of it. It's a padlock, and the mayor of this town has authorized police and firefighters to use bolt cutters on them in a dispute with the water company. Fire Chief John Scott tried several keys before finally finding the right one to open the lock on a fire hydrant outside Lavon City Hall.
I figure it's probably going to slow us down anywhere between 30 seconds and 2 minutes.
Almost all of the hydrants in this town of 3,000 have locks on them. The Lavon Special Utility District says it's because of water thefts. Chief, how many reports of theft have you gotten from this water company?
To my knowledge, we haven't had any.
Police Chief Mike Jones has a pair of bolt cutters in his patrol car now that the mayor has authorized using them.
It's sad that we have to carry them.
When I heard about this arrangement, I wasn't pleased with it.
We took the mayor's concerns to the utility company's office.
Hi, I'm JD Miles. I'm with Channel 11 News.
Where the general manager defended the locks.
Somebody was taking water. The fire department has 2 sets of keys to all of the locks. We have not had any complaints.
She also had this to say about the city cutting them.
I would probably say that they shouldn't do that. That would be destroying property.
Randy Ross has lived in Lavon for 5 years. He worries about whether the lock on the hydrant down the street can be opened in time to stop a fire at his home.
Well, it's kind of dangerous, you know. I'd like to see it removed. It's strange. I've never seen it in any other place I've ever lived.
We can't be messing around looking for keys. We have to have access to the water supply.
Now, the fire chief says this has already resulted in a significant delay in putting out one fire, but the utility company isn't backing down and says it doesn't see anything wrong with these locks. Live in Lavon, JD Miles, CBS 11 News.
Running back Joseph Randall had a lot to say during the 2 hours it took to book him, and it's all on camera. JD Miles live in Frisco tonight to show us more. JD?
Doug, the arrest here for shoplifting at Dillard's in Frisco was embarrassing enough. Now, Cowboys running back Joseph Randall may have to explain his behavior during the jail booking later that day when he didn't seem to take what was happening very seriously.
If I give you $100, can you give me a massage?
No.
Joseph Randall cracked jokes while being booked into the Frisco City Jail.
And then the only thing left, we have to do your fingerprints.
Wearing a white tank top and at times resting his chin on the counter, Randall is allowed to make a phone call to his agent.
Hey, I got jammed up. I need an attorney to give me a writ bond or something so I can make it to practice tomorrow.
The Dallas Cowboys running back is worried about making it to the team's practice the next day and needs bond money.
Hey, what's the name of this place? Frisco City Jail. Frisco City Jail.
Randall also expresses concern about whether his arrest for shoplifting underwear and cologne from Stonebriar Mall will get out to the public.
Hey, is this going to get in the news, you think?
At one point on the video, Randall gets in trouble for trying to use his phone without permission.
Hey, bro, leave the door unlocked. I'm going to hit you right back.
Do you want to get you that charge on you? Are you crazy?
Randall also talks about his teammates accused of more serious crimes.
Josh Brett, he's still up in the locker room. So what? This is stupid.
Randall later gets a mugshot taken and expresses concern about how he looks in the photo.
How come they don't have a height and weight on there like they normally do? It's not a damn trading card.
Now, Randall also expressed concern about whether or not he might be cut by the Cowboys, but so far the team has not issued any discipline. Live in Frisco, J.D. Miles, CBS 11 News.
Health officials didn't even know about it until our J.D. Miles told them. He is live at the Ivy Apartments in Northeast Dallas with a story you will see only here. J.D.
Well, Karen, this is a night when children will be entering a lot of scary places for fun, but there is a real fear of children wandering into that apartment because it's open and only recently rid of a deadly disease. There's still a sign on the door warning people to stay away. That's why Masoud Osmanovich can't understand why the door is unlocked and cracked open.
Because I got 2 kids of my own and I'm scared to even walk by that area. I'm moving because of that.
Osmanovich has young children, as do many residents of the Ivy Apartments. It's where Thomas Duncan was visibly sick from Ebola. But now the apartment is not only unlocked, it's open to anyone.
You never know who and when somebody's gonna get in that apartment. To tell the truth, I think they should never lease that apartment at all. Never.
The apartment has been decontaminated twice. The carpet has been removed, but our camera found trash on the ground, which Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins says poses no threat to the public.
Like someone may have left some trash in there, but again, it is completely Ebola-free. It was completely cleaned out.
Still, Dallas County health officials tell CBS 11 that the door should not be open and called the landlord today to lock it. We went to the apartment manager's office to ask why the door was open.
Well, the health department is asking why the door is open and unlocked.
Only to be shown the door.
You have nothing to say? Why not?
She asked us to leave?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
And tonight, the door still remains open. Judge Jenkins says the property control order on that apartment expired when Thomas Duncan's relatives moved out 2.5 weeks ago. And while these tenants don't like it, there doesn't seem to be much they can do about it. Live in Dallas, J.D. Miles, CBS 11 News. Well, Ken, Kent Brantley's condition continues to show signs of improvement. His wife issued a statement today saying that he's in good spirits and that he wanted to thank everyone for their support. We've also learned for the first time that he was given an experimental serum while in Africa that could explain his remarkable improvement. But here in Atlanta, some resentment and concern from residents that Ebola has been brought into their city. It's a city of 450,000 people. Not the best place, some Atlanta residents say, to treat people with a hyper-infectious and deadly disease.
I really hate that they, had to bring him here, but, unfortunately, I guess they felt like, that's something they had to do, so.
John Duncan is not the only person who worries about the decision to bring Fort Worth doctor Kent Brantley to Emory University Hospital, right in the heart of the city.
If God forbid this thing breaks out of the Emory Center where it is, and I understand that there's quite a few precautions that have been taken, but nevertheless there is some sort of risk that it breaks out. We never had this thing on our soil before. I'm not sure what the effects would be.
Experts say the Ebola virus isn't spread through the air, and Brantley resides in this glass-protected room in an isolated wing of the hospital. That's enough to reassure some people who live nearby.
I think it's a good thing. I mean, if I was an American and I went over there to help, and I got sick, bring me home.
My minor in graduate school was biochemistry, so I'm not in any way freaked out by any of this.
Still, the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, which has overseen Brantley's treatment, admitted this year that its workers mishandled samples of anthrax, smallpox, and avian flu.
There were lapses in our laboratory. Fortunately, we identified them and reported them before anyone got harmed and before there was any release of anything into the community.
Now, while Brantley is already receiving treatment here, it's been announced today that American aid worker Nancy Wrightbull will arrive here on Tuesday morning. I'm told she will stay in the same isolated area of this building that Brantley's in, and hopefully will show the same signs of improvement from this often deadly disease. Live in Atlanta tonight, J.D. Miles, CBS 11 News. Karen, Fort Hood officially released the name of the suspected shooter, Ivan Lopez, earlier today, but little else during a briefing here outside the front gate that included a lot of questions about how something like this could possibly happen again. A memorial bouquet at the front gate. It's the only visible reminder of the bloodshed inside the Army post where Fort Hood soldiers return to work a day after 3 were killed and 16 were wounded by a man who finally has a face behind the name Ivan Lopez.
We have very strong evidence that he had a medical history that indicates unstable psychiatric or psychological condition.
Fort Hood's top general offered more insight into the shooting rampage. He says Lopez's mental health was being evaluated, but it didn't stop him from buying a handgun at this Killeen gun store. It's the same store that also sold Nidal Hassan's weapons before the 2009 massacre. A gun store employee declined an on-camera interview, but did tell me Army commanders often alert them to troubled soldiers who should be turned away. The employee says that didn't happen with Lopez. In a recent posting on his Facebook profile, Lopez mentioned being robbed and wrote, quote, "Green light and finger ready, as easy as that." That was the same day authorities say he bought the gun.
I think it's horrible. That's what I think.
Meantime, neighbors in the Killeen apartment complex where Lopez lived with his wife and young child expressed surprise. Now, the gun store owner tells me that they've been questioned by the FBI. I'm also told the FBI has questioned Lopez's wife. On another note, we're told that here at the Post, there's going to be a memorial for the victims sometime next week, and also Governor Perry will be here tomorrow. Live at Fort Hood, J.D. Miles, CBS 11 News.